In the summer of 1914, Europe stood as a continent of immense wealth, power and tension. Monarchs, generals and politicians ruled vast empires. Germany under Kaiser Wilhelm II, Austria-Hungary under Emperor Franz Joseph, Russia under Tsar Nicholas II, and Britain under King George V. These figures were bound together by dynastic ties, yet divided by national rivalries, military ambitions, and a dangerous web of alliances. Beneath the surface, each nation harbored its own insecurities, fear of decline, hunger for prestige, or dreams of expansion. But once war erupted, these anxieties hardened into concrete political and military objectives, goals each nation pursued with growing desperation as the conflict dragged on. Let us take a closer look at what they were fighting for. At the heart of the conflagration lay the ambitions and fears of the German Empire and its fragile ally, Austria-Hungary. Germany entered the July crisis by taking calculated risks aimed at achieving several overlapping objectives. Its immediate goal was to support Austria-Hungary's bid to crush Serbia, an opportunity Berlin saw as a way to test the resolve of the Triple Entente and potentially break the Franco-Russian alliance. German leaders, particularly in the military, were convinced that a German war was inevitable given Russia's growing strength. They believed it was better to fight sooner rather than later while Germany still held an advantage. This acceptance of risk was tied to the broader policy of Weltpolitik, world politics, which sought to secure for Germany a young and dynamic industrial power, its place in the sun through colonial expansion and a navy to rival Britain's. When the war began and the Schlieffen Plan failed to deliver a quick victory, Germany's aims became more concrete and expansionist. The government's secret September program of 1914 revealed an audacious vision of German dominance in Europe. The annexation of French and Belgian territory, the permanent weakening of France and the creation of Mitteleuropa, a German-dominated economic bloc stretching from Scandinavia to the Ottoman Empire. In the east, German ambitions were even more expansive, envisioning the annexation of Polish and Baltic lands for German settlement. The Treaty of Brest-Litovsk in March 1918, which imposed draconian terms on revolutionary Russia, was the fullest expression of these imperial goals. Austria-Hungary's overriding aim was more existential, the preservation of its multinational empire against the threat of South Slav nationalism, which it believed Serbia actively fostered. Habsburg leaders, particularly Chief of the General Staff Konrad von Hötzendorf, saw the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand as the perfect pretext for a punitive war to eliminate Serbia as a political force in the Balkans. This was not a bid for global power, but a desperate gamble for survival, driven by the fear that inaction would hasten imperial collapse. Vienna was willing to risk a wider war, confident in Germany's blank check of support. As the conflict dragged on and Austria-Hungary suffered devastating losses, its aims narrowed to simple survival. Territorial ambitions such as the annexation of Serbia and parts of Russian Poland remained secondary to the fundamental goal of keeping the empire intact. The Ottoman Empire joined the Central Powers in November 1914, seeking escape from Entente encroachment, especially from Russia, its historical rival with long-standing ambitions to control the Turkish Straits and Constantinople. Allied with Germany, the Young Turk leadership hoped to modernize the empire, strengthen its military and reclaim lost territories in the Balkans and the Caucasus. The Sultan, as Caliph of Islam, also declared a jihad, a holy war, urging Muslims in the British, French and Russian empires to rise against their colonial rulers. The aims of the Allied powers were equally varied, combining defensive responses to German aggression with long-standing revisionist goals and imperial ambitions. For France, the paramount objective was security against Germany and the recovery of Alsace-Lorraine, the lost provinces annexed after the Franco-Prussian War of 1870–1871. This desire for revanche was a powerful undercurrent in French politics for decades. The Franco-Russian alliance was the cornerstone of a strategy to contain German power and prevent France from standing alone. During the war, French aims expanded. Beyond recovering Alsace-Lorraine, France sought to permanently weaken Germany, possibly through detaching the Rhineland, and to acquire German colonies and Ottoman territory, especially Syria. Russia entered the war as the self-proclaimed protector of the Slavs, particularly Serbia, and as a rival of Austria-Hungary for influence in the Balkans. Like France, Russia sought security against the Central Powers, but it also pursued a vital long-term goal: control of the Turkish Straits, the Dardanelles and Bosphorus, which would give its Black Sea Fleet access to the Mediterranean. Following the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, however, Russia's war aims changed dramatically. Lenin's new government sought peace at any price to consolidate power at home and redirect energy toward international socialist revolution. Britain entered the war to maintain the European balance of power, a long-standing cornerstone of its foreign policy. Germany's industrial and naval build-up was perceived as a direct threat to British security and empire. The immediate trigger was Germany's invasion of neutral Belgium, which Britain had pledged to protect under the 1839 Treaty of London. Defending the empire and securing sea lanes were also essential aims. As the war continued, Britain's objectives crystallized: the defeat of Prussian militarism, the acquisition of German colonies, and the securing of strategic positions in the Middle East, especially Mesopotamia and its oil reserves, through the dismantling of the Ottoman Empire. Italy, initially a member of the Triple Alliance, declared neutrality in 1914 on the grounds that its allies were the aggressors. Its main aim was territorial expansion at Austria-Hungary's expense, particularly the unredeemed Italian-speaking regions of the Trentino and Trieste. After negotiating with both sides, Italy joined the Allies in May 1915 under the Secret Treaty of London, which promised these territories along with further gains in the Balkans and overseas. The United States entered the war in April 1917, provoked primarily by Germany's campaign of unrestricted submarine warfare, which endangered neutral shipping. President Woodrow Wilson framed American aims in idealistic terms. His 14 points outlined a vision for a new world order based on national self-determination, free trade, open diplomacy, and the creation of a League of Nations to ensure lasting peace and make the world safe for democracy. The First World War was not fought for a single simple cause. It was a collision of empires and nations, each pursuing distant goals. For the Central Powers, it was a struggle for continental dominance, or in Austria-Hungary's case, mere survival. For the Allies, it was a war to defend the balance of power, reclaim lost territory, honor alliances, and seize imperial opportunities. The immense cost in blood and treasure ensured that what began as a conflict over limited objectives escalated into a total war for unconditional victory, culminating in the collapse of 4 empires and the redrawing of the world map.